A couple of minutes ago, I was wearing this thing, and now I'm sitting in it reading a magazine. Why would the biggest sportswear company in the world make clothing that almost no one is going to buy? And I'm not talking the treadmill of faux limited, hyped collaborations designed to drive consumption through FOMO marketing, but instead an entire product line with experimental aesthetics that seems to be better at driving conversation than it does sales. Does Nike really need to be making moldy looking shoes when they've just reported quarterly results so bad they withdrew their forecasts and cancelled their investor meeting? Or can weird aesthetics help recover the Nike flop era? More importantly, should we all be wearing Nike jacket tents? This is Astronaut here, let's find out. Nike made over $50 billion in revenue in FY23 and built its brand on performance and innovation. Both high-end, record-breaking running sneakers with carbon tech, etc., to the thousands of different models with the Nike Air system they debuted in 1978. Nike ACG, Nike Lab ACG, Nike Lab AAE for the 5 people who remember that one. Nike Plus fitness tracking, so many different lines designed to position Nike as innovators in sport, and their marketing goes to great lengths to reinforce that. In 2018, Nike Lab ACG is wrapping up. So in comes ISPA, improvise, scavenge, protect, adapt, seemingly another product line designed to show off some cool sportswear innovations to present Nike as an innovator in the world of athleisure. The logo itself being scavenged from other Nike technology suggests that maybe it's kind of not. It's like the dark timeline of sports innovation, dystopian fantasy clothing. What if we have scarce resources, extreme weather, and need clothing for any situation? Nike tech and innovations are applied experimentally, like overusing React foam to maximize comfort, or literally slicing away data-analyzed bits of shoe to maximize airflow and minimize weight, or a sneaker that can be pulled apart so every element can be recycled. The ISPA line parks conventional sneaker aesthetics so they can do this. As a result, Nike ISPA has consistently been home to some of the brand's weirdest product releases. In 2020, they brought out the Road Warrior, which looks like 5 shoes welded together with a $500 price tag to match. And that was so they could use a mix of existing technology like shocks with brand new methods of adjustment that just wouldn't be possible in a conventionally shaped shoe. I know now sneaker brands are going crazy with this stuff like AV, and Adidas, like the Puma and ASAP Rocky collaborative Mostro 3D made by Aliveform, a brand that we've covered before on the channel. But remember, in 2020 the biggest shoes were like Travis Dunks and Chunky Dunks, so these really were absolutely bananas to your average sneaker fan. Each year brought different experiments, and in 2024 they launched the Metamorph poncho, promising to transform from jacket to tent. Is this the clothing innovation I've been missing my whole life? Well, I just spent $600 to find out, and while we wait for that to arrive, I feel we have to ask ourselves, why? Why make this stuff? ISPA's initial releases might have just been futuristic takes on semi-popular sneakers at the time, but surely if you're a sneaker designer, you know things like the Mind Body are just not going to sell in large volumes. It really does look like it's gone moldy. Well, ISPA is first and foremost about addressing design challenges, not just making a product that mass market consumers are going to want. The Link Axis, for example, asks, what if we could make a shoe without gluing it together? You could look at these experiments in a cynical way. It's performative sustainability when these kinds of designs are never going to sell large volumes or appeal to mainstream consumers. A halo product to show sustainability innovations where millions of Air Force Ones go unchanged. However, that doesn't mean these individual innovations aren't legitimate. The ISPA Link uses algae-based dye derived from food waste. The plastic in the Universal is made of sugarcane. Manufacturing techniques more difficult to scale right now, so these kinds of more experimental projects are necessary to pave the way for this kind of technology being rolled out at a wider scale in future. Hate to flex, but I'm so cozy right now. I also kind of like that even in the world's biggest sportswear brand, there's this department that's allowed to pop off, come up with some crazy design challenges, and then address that through product without worrying about those things selling 1 million units. That is how you get creative work, and ISPA marketing has been supported by cool creative agencies and small-scale initiatives, from these online image generators to physical installations, the kind of stuff that only locked-in fashion MFs are likely to see. In 2019, they hosted a workshop at Notre to turn cardboard into chairs. Why? Why not? My shoes are getting absolutely covered in mud doing this. Anyway, this kind of innovation does feel increasingly rare. ACG is basically just a lifestyle brand now, and I think that's symptomatic of the outgoing CEO focusing on mass market models, selling on Nike.com over championing performance and innovation. We'll come back to that topic a little bit more later, because I think it is time to check out this jacket tent for ourselves and see some of that innovation at work. This thing ships in a bag, very conveniently with instructions on the front how to convert it from one mode to the other. And after a few minutes messing around with the straps, I got it into a wearable state. And yes, I could stand around in my room all day showing this off, but I want to see how this thing really performs. Is this the future of clothing for a self-sufficient post-apocalyptic nomad? My first plan was to be dropped off in the middle of nowhere, hike to a remote campsite, and spend the night there, testing its survival potential. But I quickly found a problem with that. Is there genuinely no front door? For fuck. So new plan, can the Metamorph give us a deployable mid-hike rest stop in a way impossible with conventional jackets? I got my poncho on, a few more accessories to equip. Let's go on an adventure. This jacket comes with a bag to keep the tent pole secure that attaches to the back of the jacket. And you can probably hear a noise right now. And that is the sound of those tent poles hitting the backs of my legs with every single step. It doesn't hurt or anything, but it's kind of annoying. What I will say though is I expected this jacket to be really, really heavy and unwieldy, and yeah, it doesn't exactly fit like a normal jacket, but it is staying on my shoulders okay, which I was a bit concerned about with the poncho design. And despite the huge amount of material here, and the fact that I'm carrying literal metal poles on my back, it's not really weighing me down. I think it's fine. But you know what? Wait, let me stop a second. You know what? I actually think this is a pretty cool looking poncho jacket type thing. It does take a little bit of time to get this looking symmetrical, but I think once you've figured it out, you're a bit more used to the design, it works fine. And I really like that they've gone for this kind of emergency, dystopian, sportswear fashion kind of angle. It certainly looks like pretty much no other jacket on the market. Got to give it some points for that. I was also potentially concerned about breathability because on the inside, you've got this pretty rugged and not very breathable feeling nylon. It's actually not too bad. And I think that's in part because it is a very kind of airy, breezy design. You can quite easily just take this up a little bit, turn it into more of a cape, and then you're really opening up the entire front of the jacket. So when you're walking, you've got quite a lot of airflow coming through. Well, I've been out for, an hour and a half now. I'm not gonna lie, starting to get a little bit warm. So I think it's time to try and set this thing up as quickly and efficiently as possible. That was actually surprisingly easy, and that was not with practice. I reckon if I did it a few more times, I could get that under 5 minutes, no problem. Definitely quick enough that you could reasonably stop somewhere and set this up if you wanted to. But I'll show you what I mean about the weird lack of door here. So it has this material flap, which is stuck down with poppers. You can undo this, but there's nowhere to actually stick it to up here. There are no poppers here. There's the material to use this as a door, but you can't actually do that. You can either have it down and attached, or I guess you can have it outwards maybe for a little bit of extra room, but that's kind of it. All right, here's my conspiracy theory as to why this is the case. I don't think this passes some kind of regulation for this to be the kind of tent that you could actually spend a night in. So to make sure that nobody actually tries that and then ends up getting frostbite and suing Nike or something, they just made it so that you literally could not put this stuff together. I reckon if it was nice weather, I could probably sleep in this thing. Guy ropes weren't included, so this could be a little bit bigger, but it's just about big enough for 2 people to sit in, have a little snack and a sit down. I could actually stay here for quite a while. I brought this U-Green power bank that they sent me. It has this little indicator on here, charges stuff up to 100 watts, so perfect for travel when you want to juice stuff up real fast. I'll put a link to that in my description if you want to check it out. Been enjoying Echoes of Wisdom over the last week as well. Very fun game. Love how this interior felt makes it look. It's so distinctive. There's no other tent in my mind that looks like this, and it lets a surprising amount of light in as well. So it's pretty airy feeling in here, despite being pretty small. And with that, I guess I better go home. While packing this up, I noticed, yeah, as expected, this is going to get dirty since you're putting it on the ground and sitting on it, and that looks particularly bad on the lighter mesh-like nylon, which becomes the face fabric in jacket mode. I'll be honest, I don't know how to clean this. But I guess getting a bit dirty is all part of the authentic dystopian aesthetic. Anyway, I got home fine and popped out the next day to think a bit more about a society of tent wearers. I don't know if the world is quite ready for someone to show up to the group hike and deploy themselves like a command center. And this thing is unwieldy enough that you're probably not going to want to wear it unless you're actually going to deploy it. So it is very much proof of concept rather than something that's genuinely going to be useful for a lot of people. However, I do think it's a successful exploration of this idea. It accomplishes exactly what it sets out to do. ISPA shows that your clothing can convert into a little shelter. I also think this represents a starting point for others to think about exploring these kinds of ideas. What if your jacket didn't need to be thrown away at the end of its life, but it could be repurposed into a tent or some other kind of shelter? That exploration is cool, and it's cool in the same way that Final Home explored the clothing as shelter idea decades ago. I'm happy to see innovations and explorations in clothing that can help drive things forward, particularly when it is in a sincere and considered way like this. And it's one with so much attention to detail too. You've got ISPA branding all over this thing, these straps are ISPA embossed, the multi-materials kind of floating between each other. I mean, this laser cut fabric here, the felt-like material, it makes it look better than most tents do. Even the poles on this thing are custom branded. If this came out of the height of the Gorpcore craze, this would be the final boss right here. Every element is considered, it's high effort, it's well constructed, it's a true experimental product, not a sort of gimmick for influencers to buy and make silly viral content about. I mean, I guess I've inadvertently done that now, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to do here. At a wider scale, Nike with the ISPA line are saying, we can do this. We will experiment and innovate in a way that other sportswear brands won't. Only we can design for the nomadic tent jacket-based future. And I have to respect that versus the alternative of churning out focus grouped mid products over and over again. The world has enough tech fleece tracksuits by now. And that brings me to Nike's current problem and what's next for ISPA. Nike does have a coolness issue and an innovation issue.
Outgoing CEO John Donahoe was brought in for digital transformation and to bring sales to Nike.com.
He quickly deprioritized retailer relationships to focus on that, as well as focusing on those core best-selling models, Dunks, Jordan 1s, Jordan 4s. COVID and the Panda Dunk obsession had them riding high on this trend. It really did work until it didn't. When people inevitably get sick of the 1000th Jordan 1 or Dunk limited colorway or collaborative release, there just wasn't really a compelling follow-up. At the same time, upcoming sportswear brands like Hoka, On, even Brooks were taking some of that shelf space that used to be occupied by Nike. Now, none of this means Nike are finished. Obviously, they are still the biggest player in sportswear, but it seems like something needs to change. That's probably why they brought in a new CEO who's a Nike veteran, a new CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, earlier this year, again, Nike veteran. Obviously, the answer to can Nike recover is extremely multifaceted, consisting of product availability, new initiatives, ads, marketing, all of that stuff. But could ISPA be a part? They have just released some new clothing, very techwear approved pieces with some modular pockets and hexagonal webbing. Really fulfills the adapt and protect part of the brand down to a level where more people are likely to want to wear it. And I do like the use of color rarely seen on this type of clothing, but I don't think it's going to change that many people's minds on Nike being the most innovative sportswear brand. Right now from ISPA, this is their experimental offering versus stuff from Adidas, Puma, Umbro. They could be going bigger here. I feel like this stuff would be going crazy in the mid-2010s, but maybe not so much now. The line is also in a bit of an awkward spot from a branding perspective with that massive focus on sustainability, because Nike earlier this year sent their sustainability team to the Shadow Realm, so it's sending mixed messages as to whether this kind of thing is a priority for Nike or not. ISPA designers have said in interviews that they don't want these things to be the concept car that never gets rolled out to a wider production, and I definitely hope that's the case with ISPA, and these technologies and sustainability can actually be used in a wider scale way. Nonetheless, I think great things have come from this line, great ideas are being pursued, and creatives are empowered to embrace these new challenges and projects in a way probably not possible with any other line. I want to see that, and I hope it's something we continue to see more of in ISPA. I mean, just look at these cool, weird drifters. Particularly if they can find a product which really resonates with an audience on a wider level or connects to some kind of cultural moment. I really want to see that happen with ISPA, but until then, I guess I will be one of the few people walking around in a tent. Can't wait to hear what you all think of the Metamorph and ISPA in general. Very divisive line. Some people love this stuff, some people hate it, some feel like it's just not quite there yet for them. I feel like all of these different types of people are going to show up. So thanks in advance for that. And as always, I will catch you very soon with another video. And if you liked it, please don't forget to give it a like. Okay, thanks, bye. Oh, I've spent all my money on jackets.